My name is Fred Laluyaux. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Aera Technology. As you said, we've been a partner with the organization for several years. Today's special. I'm super excited. We're going to have Douglas on stage with us from Hershey Company. And Douglas was a year ago sitting in the audience, not yet started on the journey, and to have you a year later talk about the results that with decision intelligence is going to be really exciting. So I'll keep my intro very short. But basically, as you said earlier, we've been partnering with you for a long time. We started the journey of Aera in 2017, but the thought about what Aera is really has been in our mind for more than about 15 years. And the vision that we had, I always like to say, I'm describing my job, I have to think what the puck's going to be 5 to 8 years from now, and start building the company, start partnering with customers, start building the technology so that when the market matures, our technology is also mature. And then that point in time is really today, and hopefully with Douglas we'll have that explanation. The problem that we saw back in 2010, 2015 was the fact that the digitization of our economy was going to drive a continuous acceleration of business cycles, right? The concept of real time is becoming a reality in your organizations today. It wasn't the case 10 years ago. Digitization was going to drive a consumerization of our economy, pushing decisions at a much finer grain than before. And of course, pushing organizations to think about making decision and measuring the impact of decision across the value chain. So if you combine volume, complexity, and speed, you've got an explosion in the number of decisions that you have to make. And our vision was, how do we build technology that allows organizations to move from people making and executing decisions supported by technology to machines, technology, making and executing decisions guided by people. I had a slide I removed because I want to go fast today, but when we started, we said, welcome to the self-driving enterprise. The self-driving cars were just an image on a PowerPoint. If you go in San Francisco today, you not only have Waymos, but you now have Zooks. And Zooks are basically self-driving capsules where the steering wheel is removed, the pedals are removed, everything that is enabling a human driver to operate the car has been removed. And that is a reality in how we're getting from point A to point B. So how do we bring that reality into your organizations? And the market has matured. So this is a bit of a joke slide, a sense of nerdy humor, which is the definition from Gartner. I thought, let's make slides with not a lot of words, and then I put this one up. Fundamentally, the idea is that of this slide is Gartner is coming up this year in December with the first Magic Quadrant for Decision Intelligence Platform. And you can see here all the definition of what a decision intelligence platform is, but that's fundamentally what Aera helped pioneer in the market, a technology that allows you to digitize decisions at scale, and the at scale is very fundamental. Our view of software is a little bit different than this very wordy slide, of course. Our view when we started Aera was to build a technology that would learn how people work and not a software that people would have to learn how to work with. I want to repeat that because it's very important and fundamental to the speed and the scale that we're being able that we're enabling today for our clients. A software that learns how people work, learns from you, captures that tribal knowledge, digitizes it, and allow you to deploy it at scale. So we wanted a software and a technology before the word agent was a thing. We came up with the first enterprise agent. Aera is called Aera, just like Siri or Alexa, and that's by definition. We were doing demos of this technology 7 years ago, showing how we could interact with voice with this digital agent. So an agent that understands how your business works, understands your work, understands how you work individually and collectively inside your organization and across your network. A system that makes real-time recommendations, understands the data. We heard Google talk about this morning. Understand the data, understand the problem, know how to deploy the decision logic, make recommendation. But recommendations can be noise if they don't turn into action. So you want Aera, your decision intelligence agents, to actually take action for you, execute your decisions, and memorize these decisions into a structured model. And finally, learn from these decisions. So the point about this is not just about digitizing the work of one person, it's about collectively understanding how we can optimize decision-making across very complex topics in supply chain. So We do that with some of the largest companies in the world. On that stage a few years back, we had Unilever, we had Mars, we had Dell last year. So excited to have Hershey for many reasons. So I'll go very fast to those remarks. And then we're doing this across, or our customers are doing this, about more than 100 different decision areas now have been digitized with the technology in supply chain, in the broader topic of operations and finance as well, and more into demand creation. We talk a lot about demand forecasting, demand sensing, but what about demand creation? How do we initiate those measure that can help drive demands where we want it to be? I'll zoom through these slides because I want to give Doug as much time as possible. You work with Aera, you have a system that understands your questions and can give you intelligent answers in real time. You have a system that allows you to run simulation and what if in real time and collaborate. You have a system that delivers recommendation to you, suggest those recommendations or take action automatically. The majority of the decisions are automated. You have a system that learns from the decision, that takes action and automates the execution, a system that learns from the decisions that are made and that allow you to optimize those decisions through a decision intelligence network, which we'll discuss. So multiple competencies coming together. And we build that technology around a cloud-based platform called the Aera Decision Cloud that's structured around, we heard a bit Google talk about this morning, earlier today, around the data, around the different engines that you need to make decisions, to project, to predict, to allocate, to optimize. You need an agent orchestration to deploy the decision logic that enables the activation of these different functions on the data. And you need a system that engages with the users in a very natural way. With that, I would like to invite Doug with me on stage.
Simply put, we love making the brands that you love. And we've operated this way since Milton Hershey started this business more than a century ago, in a town known as the sweetest place on earth. We are incredibly proud that what we do often becomes a part of your moments of goodness, big and small. Your smiles make us smile. We like to think of goodness as our currency, reminding us that goodness is never lost, especially when given from one person to another. And eventually, it finds its way back. The world will continue to change around us, something we welcome, because we're changing with it and you. But in change, some things hold true. We know what we do matters because it matters to you. And that's not going anywhere because our passion is rivaled only by our desire to make more moments of goodness.
Came equipped, you got a notepad, and I'm very impressed. I don't have anything. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Super excited. Before we start, introduce yourself. I think you know half the room already from the introduction I've seen earlier, but I'd love to hear a bit more about your background, and then we'll talk about Hershey and dive in.
So let me start with my family first. Yeah. So I'm Douglas, married with Renata, 2 kids, Luis and Vinicius. It's incredible. I was connecting with Raquel in a moment ago. Next week, I'll turn 30 years in supply chain. So time flies. I worked in supply chain for 30 years, started my career in Brazil. I'm Brazilian. Worked most of my career at P&G, 14 years. That's where I met Dan. So Daniel was my boss and my mentor at the time. And then I joined Ecolab, where I was the senior vice president for one of their divisions. And I'm here at Hershey for a couple of years. I'm responsible for global supply chain for our Southeast Next, confection and international business.
Awesome. Well, it's an amazing career. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Hershey's, we know your products. We eat them, sometimes too much. But Tell us a bit about the company.
It's never too much.
It depends.
It is a great company. Look, and every company will say that they are great because of culture and people. I can tell you, we are great because of culture and people and better than most of others. Hershey is a 130-year company, and we live this mantra of making more moments of goodness. A good part of what we do is related to philanthropy and helping kids. And being one of the number one confection company in North America, both for US and Canada, and having presence internationally was something that was remarkable. But a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, we decided to expand our portfolio to become a leading snacking powerhouse. So now we have our salty business, and we have expansion for international markets.
So talk a little bit about the complexity. I mean, you feel like your business in principle, you're making those goods, but you're in an industry that's evolving incredibly fast, that's quite dynamic. So talk a little bit about the evolution of the context and how that maybe drove the need for a new way of thinking about how you make and execute decisions.
Yeah, so we always talk about complexity in supply chain. No, reality is we used to have complexity, we have complexity, and we will have complexity always. No, so there is no normal. It's always abnormal situation. No, but what I can tell you is that today we're facing something that is very critical for us. Cocoa price has reached the highest historical ever price. So 2 years ago it was 2,500. We reached 12,000, and now it's going back to 7,000, but it is massive, the impact. What I can tell you is that when we have this type of situations that is getting shorter cycle, more impactful, and consumers and customers, they are more impatient and they want, regardless of the situation, they want what they want.
Especially when it's
rightly so, yeah. What we can do is to be focused and bring more clarity on the things that matter, no? So one is we are here to serve our customers and consumers. So we have to have things front and center of everything we do is to serve our customers and consumers. Number two is how can we bring the right skills and technology to cope with this pace of transformation and disruption. No, decision intelligence is one of them. And the last one, and more important, is about our people, how to focus on our people and bring clear direction and stability for people to be focused on what we have to do.
So a year ago, you were here in the room. Now you've got to talk about what you've done and what you've achieved already and what you're going to be doing as you go forward. But talk about what triggered the need for decision intelligence when you came to us and said, can we talk? Why did you feel that the need to deploy this kind of technology, this kind of approach before the technology, this kind of methodology approach and then technology?
It will be counterintuitive answer because normally you have a problem and then you find a solution with technology. For me, the trigger point was the biggest strength that we have could and likely would become our biggest threat. We have a great culture. Hershey is one of the best places to work. But everything works with camaraderie, collaboration, tribal knowledge. We get together and we solve things. No, there are very little silos between areas. But it's not scalable. No? So when you have to bring people together to have meetings and discuss and collaborate, it's impossible to scale. And the pace of disruption requires us to think differently. So our biggest strength would become a risk. No? So bringing technology to move from people getting data to make decisions to technology, augmenting the decisions that we have to pay attention to be scalable and faster, that was the trigger point.
You have this image here where you show the way work, oops, I'm a slide behind, work used to be done a certain way and the way you're doing it today. So, so talk a bit about the goals. I mean, you just mentioned that, but talk a little bit about the goals when you deploy DI. Was really to capture the tribal knowledge? How did you sell it internally when you went to your organization and said, we need to do this? What were the key elements that you were putting forward?
So in a traditional supply chain, you have your daily direction setting, weekly direction setting, you have your drumbeat, and normally you get together and you talk about what happened, what is the root cause of what happened last 24 hours or last week. And you get a root cause, you implement immediate actions, you implement systemic actions to prevent from happening again. So this is the traditional way of working. We're moving towards on what might happen. What are the lead indicators that we have to prevent issues from happening? And it's impossible to do this with tribal knowledge. We need to have decision intelligence, for instance, to help us to look around the corners. And I know that someone from my team loves this saying about looking around the corners.
Good. And let's talk a bit about how you took your first steps. So again, I've said it 3 times now, but we met a year ago, you came to our dinner, then we started talking and engaging, assessing. But tell us about the first steps, the prioritization of your initial what we call skills, which is the areas where you deploy Aera on.
Yeah. So moving and implementing decision intelligence has a very important component of change management, both to the organization, but also to my leadership team, to the board, to the CEO, and everybody. So we had to go by little steps, baby steps. So we decided where could we have a small pilot that we could convince that this was the right step. And we had a great partnership between Aera, our integrator with Accenture, and the best people from my team coming together and making this matrix on what are the biggest impact and where we have more frequency of events happening from the same activity. And we were very clear that if we could take this, and we decided for 3 skills, finish goods norm setting, supply chain loss prevention, and materials risk management, these 3 would give us a high confidence to both work on change management for our organization, but also for our bosses and the board and the CEO to understand, okay, so now I see what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing.
So it's interesting what you did, because we've been doing this for 8 years, starting with we're building the platform and pioneering with some customers. And because we are AI, because we're agentic, because we're all these things, companies have a tendency to say, we're going to start by giving this technology the hardest, most complex problem, giant black box with optimization. And I say, you can. It's not a technology issue. But from a change management perspective, go with high volume, medium complexity. I'm not talking trivial, but medium complexity. You have to do some calculation. You have to deploy some logic, but people can naturally understand it, and high volume. And it's exactly what you did, right? You picked up those three cases. Talk a little bit about the process. Folks are in the room thinking, okay, you're saying that, but how long did it take to make that decision, to come up with that selection? I mean, is it a 5 months process? Is it a couple of workshops? How did you do it?
It was way faster than any decision that we used to take. But it was very intentional. One was how to grab the right stakeholders to be part of the journey. And remember, I invite you to connect with our CTO to explain what we're doing and why we're doing, what were the risks, and answer all the questions. Going to the CEO and to the CFO and ask them to sponsor this project and understand that it was a low risk for a high benefit. So having the right people from our organization that were champions for implementing new technology, also having Aera, the best people from your team coming here.
They're all good.
They're not the best one. Okay. They were good. And a good integrator. So Accenture being there with us. So we went through many workshops. It was less about convincing on the value that we would take, but it was more on how can we share and show to our people that this will make their life easier. And one of the decisions we made, I think it's very important, we never put in the business case that would have productivity. We know that this can generate productivity. The pocket of savings and value that we have elsewhere is way bigger than trying to take people out of the system. So we committed to our team saying, we will avoid rehiring when you retire, when you leave the company, when you win the lottery. So we're focusing on the big ticket items.
So just repeat the 3 use cases you started. Make sure that people.
So it's material risk management.
Yeah.
It's all about the materials flow from our supplier to our operation. We have finished goods norm setting, which is the difference between the parameterization on planning and operations. So
and that's a very important topic.
Yes.
We see that a lot.
Sometimes you have one set of parameters that are planning and you're executing very differently in manufacturing. And then you ended up with one pallet with one case, or with one truck that is full plus one pallet that will be out. No? So how do you set the right standards? And the other one is loss prevention, which is the one that we have more savings coming from. We are eliminating a lot of future risk of being out of shelf.
Sure.
And we are eliminating a lot of risk of waste.
It's super interesting what you said, because again, projecting back in the journey with Aera, there was a lot, many years of, but I've got this APS in place, and I've got this, and I've got that, and why do I need your technology? And this conversation is not fading. People understand those topics. So I was very happy to see that you picked up those three as high return, medium risk, so to speak. And how long did it take to deploy? From the time you started to the time you had the first implementation?
To make the decision took us 6 weeks.
So the first decision?
So the first was the decision to go ahead. And then it's about 4 to 5 months between implementation and having it live. And we plan to have every 4 months a new cycle of new skills.
So let's talk about this. So before we go there, talk a bit about the results. So you've been live with these skills. You got 3 skills running, and you and I were chatting. I mean, say what you can say. I don't want to push you to say anything you don't want to talk about, but the results are amazing. Can you share some insights?
I will not share exact numbers, but what I can tell you is that we are now 90 days live, and the payback for the investment is done. So the whole investment for the year, for the first 6 skills, in 90 days, 3 skills gave me the whole payback.
So you have an ROI. You go to your CEO, CFO, this is the project, this is the ROI. 12 months, I assume?
Yep.
And you're saying in 6 weeks?
In 90 days live.
90 days, sorry. 90 days, you're done.
Yes.
This is already covered. Everything that's coming after is gravy.
More, yeah.
Okay. So the results were surprising to you?
It was. I was expecting to have results, otherwise I would have come to the board and to CEO saying, hey,
the speed at which the results.
But it is, and it's more than value. No, so it's having the right service, the right agility. I can see the disruption coming and pivot quickly to avoid a problem from happening. It's also about engagement. No, so we have. One of our key metrics, it's one of my metrics, is having a higher engagement in our organization. It's all about people. I want to take the mundane, non-value added activity from my team so they can focus on creativity, as we saw here in the video.
So let's talk about this, because I mean, what you've done is remarkable. But there is questions I'm sure people have. Okay, what about the data? How did you resolve the data problem? And then how did you build the logic? And then, of course, you're just touching on that, but I want to spend a minute on it about the engagement. How did you convince people to play with the system? But let's start with the data. So what's the data landscape? What did you have to do?
I get a lot of questions about, is it possible to implement if you don't have all the data organized in the same data lake, cleansed in a library? Yes, you can. You will have better results if you have a better set of data, if you have your supplier, your customer data in the same place. Of course, you can integrate. Our goal and our vision is how can we integrate end-to-end. So we're not going from one silo of supply chain, working on logistics or planning. It will be from our supplier to our customer. The better data you have, the better results you get. But you can get, it's agnostic to which ERP you have. If you have advanced planning, A, B, or C, it's sitting on top and ingesting data from one node of supply chain, machine talking to machine, and getting the right output.
Defining the logic, how difficult was it?
It was not.
It was not?
It was not.
It's because the software was great, right? I'm kidding. Couldn't help it. And then talk about the people. I think that people are always asking us about the data and the decision logic we take care of, but now, how about the people, the folks, the planners, the operators of your supply chain? You come up with those 3 skills. What's their reaction?
Yes, it took me to be patient and rely on my team. So my team did a great job on managing the change management. I have full support from HR to help me on the change management because I have weekly or daily by person, by task, who is doing what and not doing. So I know who is taking a recommendation, adopting, accepting, or not accepting. I know that Matt Lebo from my team is getting a recommendation and he's neglecting this action, and because he didn't click and accept it, I lost $100,000 yesterday. I had to hold myself saying that it's okay to lose this $100,000 yesterday, because if I go and fry the guy and say, hey, we just missed because of you, and then I change all the change management.
Let's break this down a little bit. So when you deploy the technology, what it does, and I was very, very fast in my intro, but you have this inbox, this Aera inbox, where messages come up. Those messages are recommendation. And they'll say, hey, Matt, sorry, I recommend, he's here, Matt, is like, okay, why is it my day today? I recommend that you take that action. This is the reason why, this is the expected outcome, and you have to take that action within a certain time frame. And then that's because the decision has not yet been automated. But that decision could be automated based on business rule that you said. And Matt, in this case, would say, I accept the recommendation, I reject it, maybe I modify it, depending on how you configure it. And at that point, the system goes and execute. It will create an STO in SAP. It does the work, and it memorizes it. And what you're saying is, you have now full visibility, not on the data and the outcome, but you have this visibility on the work that's being done, the decisions that are being made. Okay, talk about automation. So you said, you have to be patient because you have this full power, and now you're asking people to approve and reject, potentially, to learn from those decisions. But automation is the goal. You want to automate as much. You said you want to remove a lot of that repetitive, dull work from your team so that it can be more creative. How do you manage the path toward that automation?
After about 10,000 clicks, you click 10,000 times, the machine learning will be smarter and will give us the opportunity to automate the 80% of repetitive, non-value-added activities and augment the 20% that I want to pay attention. So we are now in the 3,300 clicks for one of the skills, material risk management, which we have a lot of activities. For others, it will take more time, but it takes about 6 months to 1 year to get to a point that we can automate, in our case.
Yeah, that's a super interesting point, and we don't have time to break this down, but agentic is also helping that. So there's new ways that were added to the platform that allows to faster learning, but it needs more supervision. So the one you're describing is really reinforcement machine learning, where basically there's no need to supervise it so much. With the agentic, you can now have faster learning, but it needs to be supervised differently. So we can talk, if you're interested in that topic, come and see us at the booth later. Talk about the future. So where are you going with this? You said the first 3 skills.
Yeah.
You talked about the ROI in 90 days. Are you done?
No, no, not at all. Look, it was interesting because at the beginning it was, Douglas, hold your horses, go slow, let's prove the model, and then we go. Last week, I had with the CEO and his team presenting what's the wave 2 and 3. So we are implementing next week in October the next 3 skills for the year, and then we have 6 for 26, 6 for 27. The question was, can you bring 27 to 26? And after 27, our goal is how can we expand beyond our walls, go more to supplier, go more to customers, and the adjacent areas like supply chain finance or trade management decisions. So we can go to the areas that are adjacent to supply chain.
So what are you going to do? You're going to do the 6, the 27 in 26?
So this year we'll have 6. Likely next year we'll go from 6 to 12. And then we have to expand.
It's an incredible journey. I'm so excited to be chatting with you because it shows that the maturity of the market, and the technology, and your ability to bring all of that together to get some incredible results. It's what we've been kind of hoping and dreaming for at Aera for a long time. So I want to make sure that we have a couple of minutes for questions as well. But before we do that, what is the advice that you would have for folks who are not yet started on the journey or thinking about it like you were a year ago? What would be your advice? And then if people have questions, maybe get ready.
learnings and advice do we have, how many hours we have?
We have 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
Okay, so it starts with the problem first. No, so it's not about technology. You have to be very clear, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Only when you're clear about the problem, you can use technology. So this is one. The other one is go with small chunks that you can prove the model, and then you go for the next set of skills and next set of skills. Don't try to boil the ocean at once.
Baby steps, you said.
Baby steps, yeah.
Fast
And
baby
then
steps.
the last one is about people and culture. This decision intelligence is as much of technology as it is of people. So invest time to understand what are the fears and concerns that you have in your organization. Then you can clarify and bring clarity for people to embrace and adopt.
And remove the fear.
Yep.
Do you have any questions in the audience? I can't really see from here. No questions. We've been so effective. You talk about removing the fear. You had, when I were preparing, you talks about some example of folks saying, hey, I don't want to transfer my knowledge into that system. How did you manage that?
Look, we had some small groups, and I don't know if Josh is here, but yes, he's here. So we had some small groups in coffee shop and asking them, so why do we have in your department 50% acceptance? And they were very honest, saying, I'm training a machine learning that will replace me. And the conversation was, AI will not replace you. Someone using AI might replace you. So I want you to engage and learn and be upskilled. And we are committing not to displace you. I want you to be part of the journey and go, because we're going to the next 6 skills and the next 6 skills and the next 6 skills.
The key is you're responding to, as I said in the intro, an acceleration of business cycles. You're going to get closer to real time. You said you're going to go expand across the value chain. You're going to start connecting dots that have not been connected before. Your demand creation to your supply chain, to your procurement. This is work. This is work that needs to be done by people. I like what you said. You were literally saying, look, I looked at the data and I went and I talked to the people to convince them one by one that the only way to actually secure your job was to embrace the approach, which will deliver value for the company. Douglas, thank you so much and congratulations. Huge success. We're super proud to be partnering with you. And thanks for the great presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome job.